putting stuff, storing it up in his attic in the desert or something like that?
Well, yes, and I want to be really careful. I'm not advocating anybody do this. I'm only relating back what the man told me. It was at a show, in fact, one of the shows about 8 months ago you and I attended. A fellow came up and said, "Are you the freeze-dry guy?" I said, "Yes." And he shook my hand. He says, "I bought food from you 20 years ago." Now, again, folks, understand, I'm not advocating this, and I couldn't have believed it would work for him. But he said, "Well, I've had your food in my attic for 20 years." And I said, "Oh my gosh, you've ruined the food." And he said, "No." He says, "I go up there all the time and pull it down. I eat it, and it's fine." And I must have challenged that 3 or 4 times because I just couldn't believe that anything could last that well. And so I said, "Well, where do you live?" He says, "Palm Springs." Palm Springs, California is out in the middle of the desert. It gets very hot there. And I said to him, it probably gets 120 or 130 degrees up there. He says 140 on a good day, on a hot day.
Oh, yeah, up in the attic, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's an extreme situation. For most people with most any of their food, I recommend you keep it indoors if you can because it is an investment. You want it to do what it's supposed to when it's supposed, to do it. Basements are wonderful. A garage is not a great place in a hot area, but it's, I'd rather have it in a hot area than not have it at all.
Well, yeah, sure. You talked about one thing is weight, because one of the things I was thinking about, to have enough of the wheat and the other items you were talking about, you'd need about a ton or something like that for a regular family?
Well, that's probably a little high, but probably 1,000 pounds based on what a lot of people recommend. And it works out to be about 3 pounds of wheat a day for one person, thereabouts. It's not feasible, but again, it should be included perhaps.
Yeah, but I was thinking if you had to get out of Dodge, how are you going to move that? A family's worth, all your other stuff in 1,000 pounds. I'm driving an Expedition, and I could certainly tow that, but I don't think I can get that in the truck.
No. In fact, I got in this business in 1970, a young paratrooper, and I was so impressed with the long-range patrol rations they were issuing us. Long-range patrol ration was a special ration made for long-range reconnaissance troops, specialized units that went a long ways away and sat maybe in a hole for a week or 2. You had to carry the stuff on your back. Prior to that, we were jumping out of airplanes with 8 days' worth of sea rations.
Oh, my God.
Which is a canned ration. Yeah, and it's very heavy. It's a canned ration. They weren't too bad, really. And we got the LRP rations, the long-range patrol, and we found that they weighed about 1/3 to 1/4 as much. They tasted fantastic, far superior to the sea rations, and we could cart a lot of them around. And that's what got me in this business. Actually, I called the manufacturer and I said I want to sell them on my off time, and this was my night job throughout my military career.
Huh.
But again, they're the best answer for long-term storage. There is no negative to this food. For long-term storage, again, longevity, taste, nutrition, all that, and holding up.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me challenge you on long-term for a second. How long is long-term? What's the longest you've stored food?
Me personally, 39 years, as long as I've been in the business. Now, people ask me, they say, how long will this stuff last? I tell them I haven't a clue because they've not come to the point at which the product is degrading to where it has lost its nutritive value. Uncle Sam they do an annual test. They've got a test batch that goes way back. And last time around, they were into the 33rd year, and they had lost approximately 3% of the nutritional value.
3%? After 33 years?
No, approximately 3% nutritionally after 33 years. Now, I run my own tests, but they're informal. They're not scientifically based. But taste and aroma tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Now, over a period of decades, you have to lose vitamins. And anybody storing food, personally, I feel everybody should be on vitamin supplements anyway. But anyway, anybody storing food should have vitamin supplements as well.
Okay.
But beyond that, I opened up, it was 33 years later, nothing to do with the government test. I had put food in my mom's basement. You remember where her little house sat?
Yep.
And in 1979, it was a part of the original purchase that I made in August, I think it was 10th of 1970. I put it there because I was gone all over the place. And I asked her to keep it. In fact, I asked her to keep it for me because she wouldn't have kept it for herself. And in 03, I had to move her out of the home, and I took the food out, and there was about 20 cases there. And I asked one of my daughters, I said, would you like this stuff if it's any good? But I don't think it's going to be. It's been a long time. And she said, oh, sure. I opened up the cottage cheese, which is high butter fat. I figured that'd be one of the things that would go bad first. It was superb. I then opened up, I had 5 cans of ice cream, and they don't make the ice cream for storage in cans anymore. And one had been pilfered by my children, I'm sure it was. But anyway, I opened it up, vanilla ice cream, and when I bit into it, it was just like it was the first time I tried it in 1970.
Wow.
I promptly called my daughter and I said, everything is good, but you're not going to want this ice cream. 5 cans is all was left in the West Coast. So anyway, I kept the ice cream, I guess. But it's just an amazing product. The longer I sell this product, the more impressed I am. And again, I've got food still goes back 39 years. My average, probably in my own personal storage, average is probably 25 years plus, or I'd say 20 years plus. Very, very little is less than 20 years.
Huh.
I'm not talking about our inventory. That's brand new. I'm talking about my own
personal stash.
Supply.
Yeah.
And I opened up some freeze-dried Gulf shrimp, which is not generally available. It was made for the Navy. And it was 26 years old, I believe it was, 28 years old when I opened the can. I had a case sitting where it was located actually in dirt. I hate to admit that. I get a little sloppy maybe with my own personal supply. But we are meticulous in how we keep our food in our warehouses. But anyway, I had been sitting there in the dirt, and the can looked really rusty, and I said, I suspect that probably is rusted through, and it's probably bad. But if it hasn't, and it's about to, I better open the can and try to save the stuff. Opened up the can, it was fine. The one can that was sticking in the dirt. Anyway, opened it up, it was fine. I thought, well, now I've got a problem, because in a couple months or 3 months, the stuff will go stale out of the atmosphere it's in. So I put it in a mason jar, threw in some oxygen absorbers, and about, 3 or 4 years later, served it to some friends of ours from Santa Barbara. The gentleman, he's an Oriental gentleman, he loved shrimp. And I said, what would you like? He said, I'd like shrimp salad. Made him up 3 of them. And made him up 2. He said, I love it, this is fantastic. Then I told him it was 26 plus years old then.
Oh,
and he said, and I figured he'll fall out of the chair. And he scarfed it up. He thought, this is great. He says, may I have another plate?
Huh.
And it's really that good. I mean, I'm not exaggerating one iota.
Well, okay. I believe you on that stuff because personally I have some stuff that I got from your company 20-some years ago, and I've used it in remote places, and I, of course, continue to buy the stuff when I've worked in these other places in the world. Like I've told them at the beginning of this call, you're my go-to source on the emergency preparedness and these supplies, and it's what I recommend to my clients. But let's give these guys some more information about how we can help them. How do you go about planning for what your family needs? The amount of food, the type of food. What do you do? First, do a nose count of the family, or age. Tell me how you go about it. What's your process?
Age, how many girls, how many boys. There are different requirements different people need. Is it a lady who hits the gym 4 times a week? Is it a guy who never does, or a guy who's does heavy labor all the time? I have a good team of counselors that I have trained. We think in terms, basically my criteria is I try to give people feeding programs, if they want to do this, that would be largely much like what the military would use. We don't sell skimpy stuff. When we sell like a year's supply, typically it's probably a good 14-month supply of food. Because people will say, well, when it comes, whatever it is, I'll just sit by the wood stove and wait for it to pass. And I say, okay, that's fine. You're drinking your herb tea on the wood stove, but when you run out of... Now, again, this is not a worst-case scenario, but it's a bad one. When you run out of gasoline for your chainsaw, then you're going to be cutting that wood with an axe. So the thing is, in tough times, people generally work harder to survive, not easier.
So you're burning more calories, you need more food. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, just you go out hunting or hiking or camping or whatever. In fact, I use this stuff now for a lot of my backpacking and longer camping trips, and I even take one of your products, the just-in-case unit, and we'll talk about it later, but the just-in-case unit, and I keep one of those around, not just for, or several of them around, not just for a backup to my backup, but because they're lightweight, I can throw them right in the truck, and I use them up, I rotate them through as part of my camping stuff.
That's right.
So, that gives it turnover. But let's get back to the family, okay? Because I want these people to get a good